to be hearing from Muzna and Logan about mental health. And I'm going to ask you guys to put your phones away, to be respectful and quiet. It's a serious topic. I would also like you guys to know that if anything is difficult for you in this assembly today, you have social workers that you can check in with. A few of them are right there. You can talk to me. And there will be an opportunity to check in with Muzna and ask her any questions at the end of the assembly. So I'm going to hand this off to Logan Shepherd. Give him a big round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Logan. I'm the president of the Active Minds Club, also known as Mental Health Club here at South Portland. Before we begin, I want to ask all of you to take a moment to think about something that we don't talk about enough, and it's how people around us are really doing. I know that talk about mental health can be very uncomfortable, but the quality of our lives depends on our relationship with this comfort. At our school, we've experienced loss. Some of us have lost friends, people who sat in the same classrooms and walked the same halls with us. I personally started the mental health club because I lost one of my best friends in my sophomore year. Losing someone like that changes the way you see things. It makes you realize how much struggle people carry around, and how important it is that we start having real conversations about mental health. Too often, people think that they have to hide what they're going through. They think no one will understand the story of their life. But everyone's story matters, and every voice is speaker. That's why it's very important. Our guest speaker, Muzna, will speak about her story regarding her life in America. Listening today is about hearing someone speak, about understanding behind every person who passes in the hallway. There might be something deeper going on. And sometimes hearing someone else's story can give you the courage to talk about your own story. So I ask everyone to give your full attention, keep an open mind, and to listen. Please join me in welcoming Muzna.
Good morning, everyone. What's up? How's everyone doing? Good? My name is Muzna. I'm from an organization called Finding Your Mind. Have you guys heard of that before? Yes? Okay. For those of you who haven't, they're a nonprofit. And I am a therapist in my other job. And I know what it's like to come and talk about mental health, the definition, the big ones, right? And explain all of that. But in this job, how I talk about mental health is honestly, I just come to schools like yours all over the country, and I just tell my personal life story, okay? I talk about my life, and sometimes when people do that, they tend to talk about the good parts, right? And so when I talk about my life, I want to show you that you can talk about the good and the bad, right? There's a balance, and everybody has, the hard stuff in their life. But for me personally, I came to America, and from the country I came from, there is no concept of mental health the way we talk about it now. And so I was just going through life, dealing with, coming to America. My family was going through a lot, and I thought I was, handling it pretty well. And I was dealing with stuff called anxiety, depression, things you've heard of, right? But I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just thoughts and feelings. And so I pushed through, got to my senior year of high school, and unfortunately it resulted in my attempting suicide. And so yeah, it's a hard thing to talk about, and sometimes not a lot of people want to hear stuff about this thing, but if it wasn't for something like that, I would be here doing the stuff that I love, and speaking, and doing the job that I love, right? So I just want to, the only difference between me and you guys is I'm 26, and I can see now how the things that I went through in the past, what they were for, and there was a reason, right? So I just want to share my story in that sense. Now, I usually have a slideshow so you can see pictures, but I grew up in New York. I lived both in the city and upstate, okay? I lived in South Carolina, Chicago, so moved around a lot growing up. But originally, I grew up in a country called Pakistan, okay? Have you ever heard of Pakistan before? Yeah? Can anybody tell me what continent it's from? Asia, yep. So I know for a minute that I was Asian, so I got to America, right? My race is Asian, my ethnicity is Pakistani, okay? Now Pakistan, I didn't know a lot about it, and I learned when I came to America, for example, it is a theocracy, okay? Does anybody know what that means? It's a form of government. It's a big word. No? It means when the religion and the government is combined, okay? So, what that looked like in real time, and when I was growing up there, that is called Islam. So we used to be at home, practice Islamic practices, go to school, that's what they showed there, and then after school go to the mosque, okay? It's also a third world country. Does anybody know what that means? Anybody? Just shout it out. It's a poor country, okay? Not a lot of resources. So again, what that looks like in real time, I used to go to school, come home, the electricity would be out for a couple days, couple weeks, we don't really know, right? Water, we literally had to boil the water, take a shower, to drink, to make food, okay? So it sounds like a hard life, and looking back it was, especially living now in America, right? But that was just my home and it's what I grew up with. It's all I knew, okay? And so I'm growing up there, and things are getting a little bit rough because it's a Muslim country. Didn't mean we lived happily ever after. There was differences between different types of Muslims, right? So the group that I belonged to, it was a minority. And, there was a lot of persecution, a lot of violence that started happening, so it wasn't safe enough to practice our religion. On top of that, my mom had me and my two beautiful sisters. So 3 girls in the family. Now, nothing wrong with that, but from what I saw, for life for girls to be out there, you go to school for, a little bit, but typically you get married at a pretty young age, and then you're expected to have a family. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I used to come home sometimes from school, and we did have electricity. And so we used to have this big TV, and I would turn it on, and there used to be cartoons like, remember Tom and Jerry? Or like One Piece, I don't think we watched it. One Piece used to come through, right? And so I'm watching these shows, and in between, there used to be commercials coming in from America. And in all these commercials, I'm seeing girls my age, but they're wearing different clothes. They used to wear skirts or shorts. I used to see girls playing sports with boys. In Pakistan, women are supposed to cover from head to toe. Only their eyes are showing. We don't mingle with the opposite gender, that's a religion. And so I'm seeing stuff on TV, right? And so I used to go to my mom confused. And I used to ask her questions. Now, my mom, she had a lot going on, and she was, very black and white person. I had a lot to do, I don't know. Because I used to ask her, why aren't we allowed to wear those clothes or do those things? And, she used to be like, I'm doing stuff, what you have to do is our culture, it's our religion, don't worry about it. And so I used to just, go about my day up until things started getting a little bit more rough. It was not safe for us to go outside. It started, building up, and my parents came home one day, and my dad sat us down and was like, we are going to America. Now, if anybody here knows you are yourself maybe, or people that you know that come from another country, it is home, okay? Pakistan is always going to be my home. But America, the way that America is talked about, you can do anything in the world. You can be anywhere in the world. You can make as much money as you want, okay? So we were so excited. That is good news, right? So we literally left everything. It was my first time. I was 9 years old going on a plane. I don't know if you can think about the first time you've been on a plane. If you have, but that was a 48-hour plane ride, 2 days, right? I had to leave my friends, family, at my home, my camels. We have camels in Pakistan. And so I left everything that I knew and we hop on the plane, right? So then, fast forward 2 days later, of all the places I come to, JFK, New York City, Queens, okay? So I'm a little girl from the desert, okay? I've never seen the world before. And I'm walking through, and I'm seeing people for the first time, people I've never seen before. Clothes I hadn't seen before, strangers walking by saying, hi, how are you? And I'm just kind of looking, taking it in. My cousins come and pick me up, and we go to Times Square, right? And so I'm walking around, and I don't know if it was a New York thing or an American thing, but everybody was walking, doing their own thing. Not worried about one single person that stood right next to them, right? And to me, that was freedom. Like, you're just doing your own thing, living your own life, right? So I noticed that, and then you have to go get food. And can anyone guess my first meal in America? McDonald's. That's right. Pakistan. Now I gotta share a room, with my sisters, people on the same bed, my parents. Felt weird. But I didn't want to think about it. It was a lot, right? My parents would figure it out, and I just focused on school. 2 weeks later, I started fourth grade at Ethel Elementary School. Now, I had to learn everything, like the clothes. I didn't fit in a grocery store before, right? Cars out here. So first day of school, a school bus. Never been on a school bus before, okay? I'm wearing my traditional clothes. It's a long shirt with my pants. I didn't have American clothes at this point. I get on the school bus, my parents are like, "I'll take you to school." And I'm nervous, okay? I'm walking, I don't want to look. I see the first empty seat and I sit down. Now, my heart is beating, but the sun was coming through the window and there was this kid sitting across from me and he catches his hair. And I turn my head and I'm looking at him and I can't stop looking. I've never seen a kid like him before, right? So I'm just confused and just, in awe. And then the kid looks at me and he doesn't seem to like me. So we're just kind of looking at each other. And so after a while, he breaks the silence and he's like, "Why are you staring at me?" I didn't know what the word staring meant, so I just continued. I didn't say anything. Until we got to school. And nobody had to tell me because I knew it felt awkward. When I walked to school, everybody was staring at me. I was the only kid that was dressed how I was dressed, was from where I was from, looked how I looked. And so I thought, the reason I was staring at that kid was because he had orange hair and freckles. And I had never seen a kid with orange hair and freckles. And it was the coolest thing to do, right? So when I walked to school, I was one of these people who, people probably think I'm cool. They come in with questions and they did. People are asking me about my country, about my religion, where I was from, right? And I'm just answering what I can understand. I know a little bit of English. And so the first week, right, I'm answering questions, trying to, talk to everyone. The second week, after a couple of weeks, right, I knew a little bit of English at this point, and the things that were being said. When you're in a big group and someone says something and everyone's laughing, you feel awkward. You're just laughing along, throwing something in the ball. And so that's what kind of started happening. My thoughts went from, this place is weird, or I want to go home, I miss my friends, to, is it me? Why do I sound like that? Why do I have to dress like this? Why do I look like this? And they don't, right? These are the thoughts that started coming up. Now, again, questions about my religion. I wear a scarf, for example, so why do I wear a scarf all the time? To get hot, you wear it in the shower, right? People are laughing at me, don't understand why, right? And so things like this are happening. And I didn't know at 11 years old, right? This is what is called anxiety. When you're having constant thoughts about yourself, or you walk in a big group of crowd, right? Now you're thinking to yourself, should I say this? Should I not? Right? So I'm starting to feel like this. I don't like it. But the thing is, thoughts and feelings, nobody can see them. What I didn't like was, again, how I was impacting physically. I was a social kid. Now I'm stopping myself from talking. My heart is racing. So I didn't want to be like this, but if this was turned off, I would go home. And what my depression looked like at this point, honestly, it was, I would get home, I'm tired, I don't know, there's a lot going on, I'm fine, I'm not hungry, leave me alone. That's all it looked like, okay? So I would come to school after a certain point. I wanted to tell my mom, right? I was feeling like this. My mom at this point is a single mom. My dad left to go make money from Pakistan. So she's taking care of my grandparents, us three, trying to learn a whole new country. She looked like she was having a depression of her own. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to bother her. I don't even know if she knows, so let me figure this out. So, 5th grade, I came to school, I looked around. A lot of the girls in my school had straight hair, okay? I had curly hair. I did not know how to take care of it. Even in my family, the people who had curly hair, it was straight hair, right? So this whole thing in my head, I was like, oh, I just gotta straighten my hair, start straightening my hair. Then I would go to school, clothes. People had certain brands, certain styles, the hoodie, the yoga pants, right? So I came home and I was like, Mom, I want these clothes. teacher asked me, hey, are you okay? And how's everything? I was flying under the radar, and I wanted to because I didn't even know what was going on at home at this point, right? I would come home, and I'm thinking these things. And coming home, my mom, usually would have a lot going on, and I would just go to my room. But lately, by before sixth grade, she was a little bit different. For like 3 to 4 days, right? She would be super happy. So because she's on this like very happy mood, she would do things like go shopping, doing all these things, right? But then for the next week and a half, she would be super sad. So now she's in this mood and she's doing stuff like that. Does anybody know what that disorder is called? Bipolar, okay? So we did not know what was, to me, this my mom, right? She's happy one moment, she's not. So I started going to school, and there's this thing called after school club, right? So in my school, it's a freedom in my school where we had like humanitarian clubs, business leaders of America, all these clubs. So I just started going to them. But I went home for a little bit longer. They were like an hour and a half after school, right? And so I'm staying in school, go home and see this, and my dad came home after a while, right before middle school. He sees my mom. He's confused. He doesn't know why she's acting the way she's acting, but the thing is, he's got to go back out to make money. He's like, I don't have time to stay home with you, so I'm going to take you to your family's house, and hopefully they can help. So we come home, and he's like, everyone pack up, we had run car, and all that stuff. We put everything in, and then we start driving. 5 hours later, pulled to the part of the country, I'm in Maryland, okay? So I get to my grandparents' house from my mom's side, don't know these people. Again, brand new house. I start school, middle school here. I'm ready. I've been to girls before. But then I walk into school, and it's different. I went from going to a predominantly white school to a predominantly black and brown school. So I walk in, and first of all, there was like metal testers, right? That was weird to me. And I've never had to go through that. We went through, I'm walking around, and I'm noticing things. I'm trying to talk to people, but here, it reminds me of New York City almost. People are wearing different clothes. They're speaking in different languages. And I just spent so much time trying to pretend my culture, my identity was not there, and I was trying to be part of some other culture, that it was awkward. It showed that I was doing that over there. So I didn't like, talking to people. I felt alone again. So I was like, you know what, let's go to my club, something to do to distract myself. But then there's not a lot of clubs here. The schools weren't really doing that hard. The way that teachers and students talk to each other is different. So I'm curious. I'm confused. Why is school so different? So I started asking questions, and middle school is when I learned what it means to be a person of color in America. It was a very weird thing to learn, to be honest. But it kind of made sense because it made me realize I was a problem. I'm a woman of color, I'm Muslim, I'm from the country. So maybe that's why people treated me different. It wasn't me, right? I didn't see my hair and stuff. So literally, as soon as I'm learning, like talking to people, I come home, it's end of middle of 8th grade, and my dad is dead. And guess what he struggles to do? I start packing my clothes, I don't even need to ask, right? We gotta go. We pack up, we get back to upstate New York, and I'm tired, okay? I'm exhausted. But the thing is, the minute I would be angry at my parents for making us constantly move, and there's always something going on, I felt guilty because they literally would have been tired for me for us. So I don't want to feel anything. I was like, you know what? High school is better, it's bigger, more space, let me just focus on that, right? I walk into middle school to finish out my 8th grade, and all the kids are like, where did you go? You literally were here, you just left. So a few friends I made came up to me, and I couldn't tell them because I never told them anything that went on at home. So I just wanted to, family stuff, don't worry about it. I'm fine. Got to high school. Now, first day of high school, your classes switched, and there was a new girl in town. Her name was Tia. Tia was from the Dominican American, right? So I'm sitting next to this girl in class, and I remember doing something like that, where the teacher was talking, and me and her just kind of looked at each other, but we knew what we were like saying to her last night. Nothing was said. And so me and her like clicked. We better at it, okay? So freshman year passed, I was indoor, outdoor, sophomore year came about, coach called me into his office, sat me down and said, you know, you got your invitational meet coming up this weekend. I did not know what that meant. I was like, okay. Turns out invitational, you go to other schools, you travel, you meet other kids from other schools, you're competing with them. All of a sudden, I'm meeting all these new kids, I'm making so many friends, and you don't stress, like you're just there running, it felt good are meant to wake up for at 7 a.m. for a meeting. Now, I opened my phone, checked my story, 4 people saw it. One of them was my cousin from here. Now, he's like, I'm little kid, I was like, do whatever. I deleted my story. I go to my meeting, I'm busy, okay? We're coming home at night time. You know, we're having fun, saying bye to everyone, like, and we get to our school, the parents are there. So, you know, I'm saying bye to you, bye to always get in the car with my dad, and he's not the one there. So the anxiety is in, I don't think it's either. We're driving to my house, and I'm like, what did I do? Oh my God, I hope it's my cousin mom. Get to my house, my mom on the couch, and she's like, I walk in, I barely sit down. She's like, what are you doing? Not any sort of religion. How is this going to reflect on the family, our reputation, right? The family now, that was the big thing. So I'm sitting there, one ear out the other, I'm tired, I haven't ate. At this point, I don't care, at the night, I'm just going to bed, right? So I start getting up. My mom had enough at this point of me not talking and acting like this. She's like, all right. Number one, you're not going to crash. Number two, we're not taking you to work. You're not driving you to work. Number three, we might as well take you out to school and try to walk the time, but it's not the reason. I don't say anything. I go to my room, I close the door. Nothing distracting my phone, thoughts are rushing in, one after the other, oh my God, what's going to happen, right? I'm on alert mode, anxiety, right? Now, part of it, right, I could have talked to myself, my parents are mad, I'll blow over, they're not going to move us back to Pakistan, but they had moved, I thought it was real. I thought so much that when I was exhausted that night, I went to bed, I woke up the next morning, depression. I had not one single thought except, I don't want to deal with today. I don't want to cry, I don't want to work, like they're mad at me, like this is my wedding. So I can run away, I can do all the things, but these are my parents. And so yeah, I very much like to say at this point, I was a kid, okay? So you probably hear all the time, you guys don't think you're too used to. So yeah, it was impulsive. It was a very impulsive decision, it wasn't suicide. I wasn't thinking. But when I attempted it, unfortunately, I attempted it multiple times, and after the first, I had a very conscious moment of what I was doing. And 3 words, speak up and get what you want from them, right? 3 words to the thing like tired, like, I did something, I needed help, but because of a feeling, and so I moved to help. I was scared, which led me to think all these thoughts. My mom's going to be mad at me, or another thing that's my culture, my religion. So I continued to do something I never would have in the first place. Now, when I woke up 3 days later, I was away from home. And when I woke up, the first person I saw was my mom. And the thing is, the reality in your mind is very different from the outer one, right? And my mom was not mad. She was just super worried because she went through something no parent could ever have to go through. My sisters were there. That was really, really hard for me. But the first words out of my mouth were, I am so sorry. I learned my lesson. I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I would never do that. But we're in America. And I did something dangerous, and I got to go get help. They took me to a psychiatric facility, right, for a month. And I'm not going to lie to you. I kicked and screamed all the way there. And I had one thought. I was thinking this one thing. I'm not like these kids. No, I don't belong here. And I got there. And with this mindset, I'm not like these kids. I did art therapy, music therapy. They had therapists, psychiatrists, none of it worked. But then we had group therapy, and in group,
If you